The footprints led straight into the river, but no one ever saw her come out. The people of Umukoro knew better than to mention Princess Oma after the sun went down. Her story wasn't just a tale to frighten children, it was a shadow that hung over the village, heavy and suffocating. Even now, years after her disappearance, the villagers whispers that she walks among them at night, searching for those who betrayed her. Oma was not always a figure of fear. She was once the pride of Umukoro. Her beauty was unmatched. Her voice, like the sweetest melody, and her intelligence made her father, the king, rely on her more than any of his sons. But Oma's heart was hard, her ambition boundless. Her rule was marked by cruelty. She demanded absolute loyalty, punishing even those that disobeyed her in the littlest form. The villagers endured her tyranny because they had no choice. Her father, the king, though aging, he supported Oma's decisions, believing her harshness was a sign of strength. But everything changed one year when the rains stopped coming. At first, the people tried to endure. They prayed to the spirits, offered sacrifices, and waited for the heavens to open. But the skies remained cleared, and the land dried up. The river shrank, crops withered, and hunger took root in the village. Then, a mysterious man who claimed to be a traveler appeared. No one knew where he came from. He walked into the village one hot afternoon, his body lean and dusty from the road. His voice was deep and commanding as he spoke to the villagers gathered under the shade of the great baobab tree.
Your suffering is not from the spirits. It is because of your princess. Her greed and cruelty have angered the gods. She must be stopped, or your land will die,
he said to the elders. But they dismissed him, calling his words foolish and dangerous. But the villagers listened. In their hearts, they had already begun to blame Oma. Why should they starve while she feasted in the palace? Why should their children go without water while she bathed in what was left of the river? The whispers grew louder, spreading through the village like wildfire. Plans were made in secret. No one knows who suggested it first, but one night, a group of villagers went to the palace with a lie on their tongues. They told Oma that the spirit had spoken through the traveler, offering a solution to the drought. A ritual needed to be performed by the river, and she was the only one pure enough to carry it out. Oma, ever proud, agreed without hesitation. She dressed in her finest robes and followed the villagers into the forest. They led her to the river bank, where the moonlight danced on the shrinking water. But there was no ritual. Before she could react, they seized her, tying her hands and feet. Oma's screams echoed through the trees, filled with rage and disbelief. "You dare do this to me? I am your princess!" The villagers didn't answer. They left her by the river, bound and alone, believing the spirits would handle the rest. By the next morning, she was gone. For a time, things seemed to improve. The rains returned, the fields turned green, and the river swelled again. The villagers felt a heavy weight lift from their shoulders. They spoke of Oma less and less until she became a memory. But memories have a way of clawing their way back to the surface. It began with whispers. People claimed to see shadows moving in the forest, even when the moon was high and bright. A hunter spoke of hearing a woman's voice calling his name, though no one was there. Then the disappearances started. The first was a young boy, Obinna, who had gone to fetch water in the evening. When his mother went back to check on him, she found his buckets overturned on the river bank, but there was no sign of the boy. A hunter vanished next, leaving his bow and arrows behind in the mud. The villagers grew fearful, locking their doors at night and refusing to go near the river after sunset. The elders tried to reassure them, saying the disappearances were the work of the wild animals or accidents, but no one believed them. It wasn't until Uche, a stubborn and brash young man, decided to challenge the fear that the truth became undeniable. Uche didn't believe in spirits or curses. He thought the stories about Princess Oma were just ways to scare children into obedience. So one night, he announced to the villagers that he would go to the river after dark and prove there was nothing to fear.
Ghosts don't drink water.
He joked, slinging a machete over his shoulder.
And they won't stop me from bringing some back.
The villagers begged him not to go, but Uche laughed off their concerns. As the sun dipped below the horizon, he made his way to the river, torch in hands. The forest was quiet, too quiet. The usual sounds of the night frogs, croaking, crickets, chirping, were absent. The only noise was the rustle of leaves as Uche pushed through the underbrush. When he reached the river bank, he paused. The water was calm, reflecting the moonlight like a sheet of glass. He bent down to feel his guard, but a sound made him freeze. Humming. It was soft at first, like a lullaby of a mother soothing her child, but it grew louder, weaving its way through the trees. Uche stood, turning towards the sound, and then he saw her. Oma stood in the water, her back to him. Her once lavish robes were soaked and tattered, clinging to her thin frame. Her hair hung like a curtain over her face. Uche's heart pounded, but he forced himself to speak.
Princess?
She turned slowly, and his breath caught in his throat. Her eyes were empty, dark pits that seemed to pull the light from the world around them. Her lips curled into a smile, but it was cold and lifeless. "Why did you leave me here?" she asked, her voice soft but laced with anger. Uche tried to step back, but his feet wouldn't move. The river seemed to rise, the water reaching for him, even though he stood on dry ground.
I I didn't.
He stammered, but she raised a hand, silencing him. Come, join me, she whispered. And the next morning, the villagers found Uche's machete lying on the river bank. His footprints led into the water, but there was no sign of him. After Uche's disappearance, the villagers accepted what they had tried to deny. Princess Oma had returned, and she was angry. The elders held ceremonies to appease her spirits, but the disappearances continued. Those who heard her voice or saw her figure by the river were never seen again. To this day, the people of Umukoro warn their children never to go to the river after dark, and never answer if you hear a voice calling your name, because Oma is still there, waiting for someone to take her hand and join her in the depths. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please do well to leave a like and a comment on the lesson you learned from this video. Do not forget to hit that subscribe button to get more interesting folktales like this.